Hello, this is Media Center Ukraine Odesa, and the first briefing is devoted to the review to the Reconstruction Forum on Transport, Logistics and Infrastructure. The person who's going to speak about the results is Hryhoryshyn, the Deputy of Odesa Military Administration. Hello, dear colleagues. I will start with the explanation why we carry out these forums. This was the third one. The thing is, when we communicate with our international partners, we hear a clear signal that to shape the reconstruction plan overall, we should develop the reconstruction, renovation strategy on every region that suffered from the Russian aggression. And at the level of the officials in Ukraine, it's quite difficult to deal with the culture of strategic development, but we still have to keep up with the partners from the Western world. So Odesa Military Administration, for the first time, during its operation and activities, has shaped, being the first one in Ukraine, the coalition of international donors, this USAID, Hryhoryshyn, this Swiss and Ukrainian projects, the number of other donors who allocated grant fund to create the expert groups. Such expert groups are focused on each industry, each field, and this group of experts is now working on developing the plan of reconstruction development for Odesa region. We have gone through several stages. That is a collection of information, methodology development, and within these forums, we promote the context of discussion and the expert environment. This is the dialogue of officials, the civil society representatives and experts to outline the main vectors in this or other industry. And this recent forum devoted to logistics and infrastructure can be summarized as the one that highlighted the major vectors and the understanding of development of logistics in our region. If we look at this industry during the wartime, it became really pressing and clear how strategic Odesa region is with its ports and logistics, not only for Ukraine or Europe, but for the entire world. Odesa port has always occupied a key place in grain deal, and our administration hopes for resuming its work. Without food supply from Ukraine, many people in developing countries suffer and are endangered. Another thing I would like to emphasize, this is not the last forum. My colleague from the Agency of Economic Development, Elena Ivanova, will speak in more details about the forums that we plan. The final forum is going to take place in November, and approximately in November we will have the final project, some details, some specifics, terms, the content of this strategy that everyone is expecting from us. Then we will have the public discussion, and after that we will have the approval from during the session of Oblast Council, and by the end of the year we're going to approve this strategic document. After that, our region will be able to launch the realization of large projects at the expense of international donors and partners and the Foundation for Reconstruction. So this document is extremely important, and so is the work on it. During previous briefings, I emphasized that there is the expert environment that is directly involved in physical development of this document, and they work full-time. At the same time, we would like to engage as many people as possible, especially from territorial communities, from the field, from specific industries. So if you would like to join the industry groups, there is a link. We distributed it on the official resources of military administration, on my Facebook pages, and on the page of Economic Development Agency. So if anyone would like to join this process, you're most welcome, and you can reach out to the Agency of Regional Development. That's all from me. I'm giving the floor to Elena Ivanova. This is who represents the Agency of Regional Development. This organization was the major organizer of this forum, and they're the key group that develops the plan. Thank you. As Mr. Roman indicated, we carried out 3 forums. The first one was dedicated to opening the process itself in Odesa region. We also had the forum for rehabilitation. The previous one was focused on transport logistic infrastructure. Another one we're expecting the end of September will be focused on space development and other pressing issues that are now under discussion by the entire country. The priority was outlined by the ministries and the Office of the President. During the final forum, we're going to review our work, to summarize what we've done, and I would like to tell about the organization of the process and how we carry out these forums. These thematic forums discuss the topics that we previously discussed with expert committee, with expert council. There are areas that are important for our region. When Volodymyr Zelensky visited the city, he emphasized that Odesa region can become the rehabilitation hub. So we discussed this topic with various experts. We were collecting the opinions at the regional level, at the officials, and the professionals who work in this area. We also understand that Odesa region as the logistics hub. And now, the issues of which is going to be transformed, how we're going to integrate into the restoration process are really significant. So it was really important to hear expert opinion, ministries' opinions, professionals' opinions, and to provide some resolutions for the experts. The upcoming forum will raise a very important issue of how exactly the renovation plans will be drafted and developed. We understand that each territorial hromada, which we have 91, is responsible for such plans. And after forming the plans of renovation and reconstruction of each hromada, we will sum up them as the regional one. We want to channel it from the regional to the state level. So we have lots of work ahead, but also we have many interesting topics to discuss. Thank you very much.
По-перше, то, що не стосується теми.
I have several questions. Mr. Roman, you used to promote the idea of Expo 2030. I would like to hear at what point this project now, in terms of its conducting in Ukraine, Odesa was excluded from the list. Does it mean that we lost the chance? Thank you for the question. As of today, I would like to say that we're still in the negotiation process. So Odesa military administration is not entitled to comment on that. There are many speculations. I think that we should wait for the results of international negotiations and decision of the head of the country on this issue. Do you mean the decision that will be voiced in November? Yes, including that. And speaking about the forums that were taking place, the society discusses the relevance of the expenses for anything but military purposes. I talked to the British expert who said that every minute should be focused for the upcoming victory. But the forums you carry out are focused on the post-victory time. Meanwhile, we have no idea when it is going to happen. Could you comment on why do you believe it's relevant to carry out such forums for post-victory reconstruction? Point number one, we didn't spend one penny from government budget for such forums. They are sponsored by the USAID, however. Second, of course, we support the president's position and do our best to communicate to the territorial communities that only critical expenses, social sphere should be prioritized, and no other expenses should be engaged. This is about refurbishing of some administrative buildings and pavements, etc. Every penny should be sent to the front line. This is something the head of the military administration supports, like Kipper, and other people. Not every head of Hromada understands that, and here we have to say thanks to the society, to civil society, because they bring to the spotlight these issues, and we can see that sometimes the heads of Hromadas try to use some clandestine way to allocate these funds. If we speak about reconstruction and renovation, well, the most precious resource is time. If we start planning only after our victory, we will lose this time. We will waste this time. During the war, we should understand that our country has many people and everyone should do their job. We can say, for example, that that's irrelevant. Some ministry is irrelevant, for example, the Ministry of Economy, because this is a significant element in the country's economy, and without that, no victory can be achieved. Same goes for military administration. There are people who focus on various areas. It's not correct to say that strategic planning is irrelevant. We, in fact, lack this culture of strategic development, because in the Western world, they plan their expenses according to the strategy. So here, we have several specialists of a certain division or ministry, and there's very few experts sit down and, under very pressing deadline, draft some papers without taking into consideration lots of factors. Some Hromadas were surprised when we were collecting the information that they take part. Well, but no Western country was fighting for its survival during the recent 70 years. Well, not quite right. There were conflicts on the European territory. I'm not saying that someone was in the same position as we are now, but I disagree that we don't have to plan or discuss the future reconstruction. We are not alone in this process, same as in the war, and without our Western partners, we would really, really be struggling. So if we hear the message from them, a year ago in Lugano in Switzerland, it was the initiative of the Swiss party, not Ukraine's. So if they are ready to speak about that, to budget that, to allocate funds for renovation, reconstruction of Ukraine, we won't tell them, sorry, we're at war now. I have mentioned that already. We can't tell to the children of military and to people who lost everything that everything should be stopped. We still have the economic fight, not only military one. It's not that we carry out the talent show and spend 10 million hryvnia from the oblast budget. We should respect our Western partners. We should be able to work and cooperate the way the civilized world does. One of the elements, if I understood that right, is building the new bridge from Dniester estuary in this strategy. This one bridge was targeted 12 times, if I remember that right. So the plans to build another bridge is something I can't understand quite clearly. Well, you probably don't understand because probably don't understand what national security is. And I will explain then to you. Open the map of Odesa region and please understand that we don't have the normal logistic connection and link with Bessarabia, and this is a big region. We only have the bridge that was shelled 50 times. We also have the road through Moldova. And if it's a nightmare to imagine if, God forbid, if there is some damage or some disaster in Palanca Road. We don't say that we invest billions of dollars to construction of this bridge, but bridge construction takes lots of time to develop technical documentation, to find financial tools. It doesn't take a month or a year. So to have this bridge budgeted maybe only at Ukraine's expense, but to make European financial tools work, we have to involve WEFT into the strategy to draft some technical details to indicate where it is going to be placed and look for financial tools to build it. But to say that's irrelevant, so maybe the part of Odesa region is irrelevant. Well, we discussed the architect after the downtown of Odesa was shelled, and we asked him whether it is now relevant to restore this historic buildings now. He said that during the next shelling they could be damaged again. They should be now conserved to start the renovation after the war is over. That's where my question comes from. You say about the development of documentation, all the necessary papers to build it after the victory. I can understand it. Yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, if we're going to engage the money from international organizations, yeah, we're not going to build it during the war. That's logical. But if the project will be launched the second day after the war, or are we going to integrate it to the strategy the second day after the victory. It means we will start building it 4 years after the victory. Or if we now get the understanding that we have technical documentation, the financial tools, we will be able to launch the construction as soon as 1 year after the war is over. There are many theories on how the events can be developed. We don't know how exactly the war is going to be over. What threats are going to be remained here, including in Bessarabia. And this bridge across Dniester estuary is not some fantasies of architects. This is the issue of national security. That's why we're going to do everything it takes to build it as soon as possible once the war is over. I have the question from the journalist who is watching us online as for the document you mentioned. By the end of the year, you mentioned that there will be strategic document that should be approved by Odesa Council. What kind of document is going to be? What programs are going to be approved in this program? The development of tourism and medicine for a certain period of time. This is going to be the actualized strategy of Odesa region development until 2027, and it is going to be the reconstruction plan, which will include a certain list of projects, and this list should meet and go in line with this updated strategy. I want to just to clarify for this journalist. We don't speak about tourism and medicine here. Yeah, I would like to comment. Okay, let's start from the beginning, just to answer all these questions as for carrying out such events. Let's start from the fact that the global community is monitoring how Ukraine is moving forward. And the first is transparency of the processes. Now, the country actualizes its development strategies. And it's not only about how the country is going to develop in post-war time, but it is also important for them to see what is going to happen in the nearest months. And it also covers various regions, with the Odesa region being in priority. And now many investments are looking closely at that. I can give you the example of a very successful case, thanks to USAID, who helps us to carry out these forums. They sponsored certain gardening systems in Suvorivska Hromada. So now we help with irrigation here. We helped to fill in the grant application. And thanks to foreign funds, we start to solve the issue of water. Second, what is strategy? Now, everyone knows that the state updates its strategy. There is a number of laws, and we cannot violate these laws at the regional level. That's not just a whim. We have the law on strategical development. There is the resolution that provides that we have to develop the space development and the reconstruction plans, what and where and what we're going to do. As of now, the strategic document includes all the expertise, including culture, medicine, logistics, tourism, environment, which is a really pressing issue. Now, the ecological assessment plays an important role. And if we say that we go forward European Union, we should take into consideration ecological issues. So the strategic document gives a very full picture of development of Odesa region, what should be reconstructed and what is better to do, taking into consideration the mistakes that have been made previously. So this document is going to cover all the areas, and this expert team mentioned by Mr. Roman, they looked at the expertise they're going to focus on. A different team will work in education area. If you know, The Odesa team from Swiss embassy helped Odesa region to develop the educational strategy that will be implemented in the future. What is important now is that transparency. When we mentioned that USAID Hryhoryshyn is responsible for economic assessment that engages many experts, we should start speaking about that openly, transparent, and engage civil society, business, field experts, as well as all communities to take into consideration all important issues in this strategy. Thank you. I hope the person who asked this question got the answer. Could you please clarify meliorative system in Suvorov region? Yes, this is Ismail region. They have irrigation issues. They have droughts there. They had issues with the harvest, with the crop. And last year, USAID, with the agro program, announced the grant for allocating additional funds to enable the renovation of meliorative systems. And after the law on the water users was approved, this Suvorov region was among the first to create such union, and they applied for such grant. And 2 weeks ago, when we had such forum in Ismail as for melioration, there were official papers were signed and the process was launched. And Suvorivska Gromada that hosts this system applied together with us for getting these funds, and the process has already been launched, and that's fantastic. Okay, we have no more issues on that. Thank you for the briefing. Thank you for the information. This was the first briefing of Medicenter in Odesa. The second one will take place at noon. It will focus on the methodology of early intervention for the children. Please stay with us.
Дякую.